Hello everyone. Welcome to Transpicuous Views. Although we're going to do a little Transpicuous news first, but Transpicuous Views. It's Sunday, August 13th. We're halfway through fucking August already. And again, I blinked and I freaking missed it. I don't know how. So yeah, we're going to start off two little subjects. We're going to do just because I don't do Transpicuous news very often anymore because I just. But two topics that just been in your face. The first one is the subject of North Korea. And of course, they're banging that war drum. We talked about it on Wednesday. They're banging that war drum really, really hard right now. And there's a lot of people are falling for it. And a lot of people have fallen for the whole, North Korea is the boogeyman, and their leader is a complete despot, crazy man with a bad hairdo, although we could say the same thing about the leader of America, too. But anyway, the thing to remember, and I don't understand how people forget this every time. Every time your attention is put on a country, and a country, they're like, oh, this country is terrible, they're a threat. They're a threat to, I don't know, whatever, pick a reason. And it's because of whatever, pick a reason. It's always bullshit. It's always bullshit. They said this about Syria. Oh, look at all this stuff, Syria, Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, Afghanistan, Libya. Oh yeah, Libya is a terrible place. And it's through history. Let's talk about it right through to Iran in 1953. Start there. Move your way forward. Every single time the United States is going to go to war or wants to start some kind of a war or distract the public, they come up with these statements of accusations, and they're all 100% bullshit. Bullshit. So I don't understand why people are falling for the North Korea stuff. I don't understand why people are all of a sudden assuming that, okay, we know that everything else was fake, but North Korea is real. No, North Korea is not real. We know absolutely very, very little out of North Korea because the country is completely closed off from the world. Because the U.S. has, since the 50s, closed it off from the rest of the world with sanctions, et cetera, and propaganda, et cetera, et cetera. So we know nothing, except for the little pieces that do come out. Now, there was a great video put together. I actually posted it in the Unfuckers. I put it on my wall on Facebook, and I'll pin it. I'll clip it here with the archive. Two guys who go to North Korea to get a haircut. Because, of course, their whole thing of everyone in North Korea has to have the Kim Jong-un haircut now. It's law. Which is bullshit. Complete bullshit, of course. So anyways, it's a really good little video. And I think it's called something about the haircuts in North Korea or whatever. But I'll post it here in the archive. Because they take the piss. And they do it in such a way like it's humorous. But really, let's look at the facts. You're believing the mainstream media who has lied to us about everything. Believing the politicians who have lied to us about everything. So when everyone else is all up in arms, just step back and say, yeah, there's a lot more to this. Now, for me, I honestly think this whole thing with North Korea is a massive, massive distraction. Hugely massive distraction, because we've got major shit going on financially all over the world. Shit coming out of China. The States, of course, is coming up. Oh, it's mid-August. They have 6 weeks till the end of the fiscal year in the United States. And then they're going to have no government or anything, and no budget, and no nothing. And, oh, they're going to raise the debt ceiling or invent more money, or, right? So we're dealing with this huge distraction. We know they like to play it out. So before everyone gets caught up into the war drums, because there are a lot of people out there who really should know better, getting caught up in this, just stand back and go, right, what's really going on? What's really, really going on here that they're trying to distract us from? So the second one, okay, and I'm going to take you to a little screenshot here. Just give me a second. The second thing we're going to talk about is fleas. Oh my God, why are you not scrolling? There we go. This is the big article. It's gone all over the place. We've seen multiple people post it. Fleas in Arizona and several other areas have tested positive for the plague. And of course, they're just pushing this out there. Oh, be afraid. It's like the Zika virus, right? Be afraid. It's Ebola. It's Zika. It's, oh, the fleas are clearing the plague, and they act like it's all big news. Okay. So, first off, fleas have always carried the plague. They always have done. They always will do. There's always a plague, black fleas discovered with plague virus every year. Every year. And in the States, too. In the States. Like, you could probably backtrack it and go through the States, and you'll find a couple of news stories every year about fleas that have tested positive for the plague. Right? So, number one, the big difference is, you know, because everyone goes, oh, the Black Plague, which we don't even know if it actually existed. We don't know, because remember that all took place in the Dark Ages, which looks like it was about 1,600 years of history that was inserted into our history that actually didn't happen. So even if the Black Plague happened, okay, the reason everyone died is because of sewage in the streets and no hygiene and no medicine. The plague nowadays, for the most part, is about as bad as the flu. We have all the medicines that, you know, like this is, but it's fear porn. And they love to pull this out. It's like last year, New York City, Legionnaire's disease was discovered in waterways in New York City. Oh my God, Legionnaire's disease. Okay, again, it never went away. It's always been around. There's outbreaks every fucking year. Difference is, it's not the boogeyman anymore, because we have hygiene and we have sanitation, we have toilets and don't have sewage running through the streets. And doctors don't deal with bodies of plague victims and then go deliver babies without washing their hands. They don't do that anymore. So yeah, don't worry about it. This is just another piece of ginormous fear porn that they will do anything to try and suck everyone in. So yeah, they have a vaccine for that. Oh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Actually, I will. I'm going to put this a little bit out here. And I will post it as well. When you talk about vaccines, right? Because we talk about, there's various types, and there's a lot of different, you know, people talk about the Gardasil vaccine, of course, is one of the big ones at the moment. The fears that we have about Gardasil and how dangerous it is, and we know that it is like one of the worst of the worst of the worst vaccines. But in the realms of pro-vaccine, the one that, of course, it's always held up as the prime golden example is the polio. Oh, but look, we eradicated polio. No, we didn't. We eradicated polio with the vaccine. No, you didn't. There was an excellent article was posted, and I've just gone and posted it out everywhere, Anytime I can read a vaccine article that actually teaches me something new that I didn't know, makes me go, ooh, new information, awesome. And it's about 15 things about polio that you didn't know. Article is really succinct. It's written mostly in point form with lots of nice little links for you to go and follow up the various pieces on. Destroys the polio story. Destroys the... Basically, polio in the 50s was 9/11 in 2001. It was at that, and that is literally about the best analogy I can make for it. Everything they told you about polio was a lie. Across the board, in every way, shape, and form, and everything that's come out from then since is a lie. This article is really good. It is one I really suggest anyone read it. Go research some more if you want, because there's some interesting pieces in here. But bookmark it, because this is going to be one of those ones you're going to need to have on hand. Next time someone comes up to you going, oh, but polio vaccine saved so many lives. Well, ignore the fact that it killed 200,000 children. Never mind. Pull this one out. This is one definitely to bookmark because it's a really good jump off point. Everything they told us about everything was a lie. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to argue with that because that's pretty much, that's where I sit right now. Everything I've ever been told was a fucking lie. And unless they can prove its truth, I ain't going to accept it anymore. Well, you have to come to Malta, Jane. I know where the shop where you can buy one of these. Yep. My little splurge for the week. I bought myself a dress. That's right. And you might need sunglasses while I'm wearing it. Sorry. So there was a really good video. One of the unfuckers, Aaron, sent me the link this morning, and I watched it first thing this morning. It's only about 7 minutes long. Well worth watching. I don't know the woman who did the video at all. I've never heard of her work before, but I like what she had to say on this. It really resonated. Now, there's some people didn't like the twist, and I get it, but we're going to discuss it tonight. So the girl put together this video, a lady put together this video, and it is called a video on what she calls starving mystic syndrome. And again, I'll post it in the archive so everyone will have a link and you can go actually watch. Like I said, it's like 7.5 minutes long, really, really short. And it was really, really excellent, and I think really, really timely at the moment. Basically, in a nutshell, she's come up with a name, and I think that was a lot of things that kind of offended people, is that it was calling it a syndrome. And I get why some people get upset, because of course we've seen the government do that. Government comes up and they name things like, you know, all these different names for anything that's just freaking natural the way we think. But if it's anything that's, you know, like standing up against authority, oh no, you have a syndrome. So I get it. But it's a girl says in the video, she says, you know, this is hers. Or like, I've just come up with this name because it helps me to explain this. It's her name. It's not a real thing. It's not a real diagnosis. It's just something that she came up with as a name to be able to describe what she was seeing play out. And basically the premise was people get involved in groups, in communities. They follow gurus or etc. And she blindly in a way, and it's because the fact that they're so starved for companionship. They're so starved to be with people who understands how they feel, who think the same way, who are looking into the same things, etc. Especially when you talk about, you know, for example, spiritual type stuff. And I hate that spiritual, but whatever. Energetic, we'll call it that. No, but I'm actually gonna make. I joked around, Maury, that I am gonna make one of my. I have got a skin cream that I'm working on right now. I'm designing, And maybe I will call it hopium. I'll call the skin cream hopium, just because for shits and giggles, because Maury came up with that. We're starving. We're desperate. We have this feeling that we're all alone. A lot of us are, because there's just no one logistically, physically close to us. That you jump into a group, you jump into a community, etc., whether it's through YouTube or Facebook or online, or I mean even in physicality, and you hang on because you have this sense of belonging. And then it kind of goes above and beyond anything what you actually believe or how you actually feel. And the reason you realize that you're there isn't so much because it's how you feel as it is you just need to be there. You need to be with the people. You need people who will understand you. And sometimes you can even fool yourself into trying to believe things. Don't listen to yourself. When you have the little alarm bells go off in your head, or you have moments where you start to question and you just shove it to the background because you don't want to question, because you want to stay within this community where you're comfortable, right? And you actually become blinded. You can become obsessed and blinded by it. And I thought the article was really interesting because in the Unfuckers group, I guarantee we have people who feel this way, that they may not feel they fit in anywhere else, and they come into the Unfuckers room and they feel that they have a camaraderie there, that they can talk about what they want to talk about, etc. The danger to me is getting so involved in a storyline, in a rhetoric, into a fiction, into a belief, whatever, that we let go of that. We let go of our thinking, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say analytically, but thinking it from being the observer, of being able to sit back and with discernment, to just look at what's playing out and be able to discern what resonates, what doesn't, what feels odd. Well, it's not even losing our logic, it's losing our ability to listen to ourselves. Like I said, I have been involved in groups in the past, like various Dinar Guru groups that I was involved in 2011, 2012, where you got the little alarm bells in your head. You're going, oh, why does this guy sound like a shyster? He sounds like a shyster. No, he's fine. Listen, everyone loves him, so he must be just wonderful. And, of course, it turns out that the guy was a shyster. Go figure. There's been tons of them. There's been tons of them when I was involved with the OPPT stuff, right? There's been lots of things that you reach out and then you get involved, and sometimes you get that little nagging voice back there, and you don't listen to it. Why don't we listen to it? Because we want to belong. We want to belong somewhere. We want to be somewhere where we're appreciated, somewhere where we are understood. And it is a fantastic feeling, but I get what this woman is saying. Sometimes you can want to belong so much, that becomes the obsessive point of it, that you no longer are listening, or listening to yourself, so to speak. Because no one wants to be lonely. No, that's exactly it. No one wants to be lonely. And I think it's kind of symptomatic right now. We talk about, we're seeing these breakups of, like, families are breaking up and communities are breaking up, and I'm talking communities like literally physical communities falling apart, etc., etc. People cling to belief systems, and it kind of goes into that belief system thing. It was interesting because I had a little conversation with Aaron this morning, and we have a unique perspective and that camaraderie between the two of us, and the fact of, and I know a bunch of you will all understand this, is like he came from a Mormon background, I came from a JW background. So you've already been involved in the cult. You've been through that, and you come out the other side, which gives you a certain perspective that's very, very interesting. But at the same time, there's also still that it could be easy to slip back into this, I want to be part of this community. You know, if you're a Mormon, JWs are the same. Everything becomes community, and you do everything together. You go to church together, they go preaching together, they go on vacation together, they go to school together. It becomes like you're always a part of this really, really tight-knit community. You'll always have friends, you always have family, etc., etc. And then when you walk away from that, there's this void. And I can remember, because when I walked away, when I was 18, I walked away, I lost everyone. I lost probably 75% of my family. I lost all my friends. Like literally, because you're cut off. I was excommunicated the moment I walked away, and no one would speak to me again. Not my own grandmother, not my aunts, not my cousins. I mean, literally. So you go through a whole soul searching and going to look through your own belief systems. And I went through years and years and years of studying religions, going all over the world, studying through religions, trying to find the quintessential, the truth. But there's always that little place, because you've had this really tight-knit community around you. You want to experience that again. And sometimes I feel like we get dragged into these things because it's comforting. Because it's comforting. It's comfortable. And then we let down our guard. Now, it's not just religion, right? So like people tend to think, okay, Mormons, JWs, those are like extreme. Okay, but people, the New Age thing, the New Age religion, just the same. Because when you come out of that New Age religion, you've left all these communities of like, you had online communities, and you could go to symposiums, and you could go have meetups, and you come out the other side of it, and there is this real want to belong somewhere. You're like, you intrinsically feel like you want to belong somewhere. Yeah, UFOlogy is another one. Same thing. When people, any of these groups, hell, you can even say it about the Dinar groups, right? Like even the Dinar groups, they got these tight-knit communities, and everyone knows everyone, and you hang out online together, and you chat, and then you share all the intel, and what do you think of this, etc. And when you walk away from it, all of a sudden you lose that sense of community. So I found the video to be very interesting, because it seems that there's a lot of shedding of belief structures right now. And in what goes along with that sometimes is the having to walk away from things. Walk away from groups, walk away from people you followed for ages, and you got a YouTube channel that you were really, really dialed into, and you knew everyone who was the comments, and you could, chat with them on the YouTube comments or a Facebook group or whatever. And then you walk away from it. And it can be lonely. But one of the things to me that is really, really important, and it's really, really funny, because just before we went live, we were talking about it. All these small knit groups, lots and lots of tight knit little small groups all over the place, scattered in physicality globally, but also on the internet all over the place. And the problem is that they become insular, and they become so insular. And I keep talking about this, where a belief structure becomes vital to the composition of the group. Whether it is you're in a group of 9/11 truthers, And if you bring up one little thing that is just off the subject, I don't know, like vaccines or something, and all of a sudden, boom. You know, if you're into an anti-vaccine group and all of a sudden you bring up circumcision, and all of a sudden, because there's all this shit playing out right now of belief systems, or how can I say that? I don't want to keep using the word belief systems because people jump to the conclusion that when I say beliefs, I mean religious. And I don't mean religious at all, because it can be any kind of a belief. Hell, you could even say quantum physics is a belief system, really. People are trying to hone in on these really tight focus groups, and we're not reaching out to other groups anymore. We're not being open to the other people around us. And I keep talking about this and saying how I feel that it's so important right now that we just get involved. Just do what we want to do. Do what is in our hearts to do. And it doesn't matter what the person next to you believes. It really does not matter. And I use the same example again. Like if you're working in a community garden, the person who's weeding next to you does not matter if they're a flat earther, if they're a Muslim, if they're a Hare Krishna. Does not matter. You're doing, both of you are doing the same thing that you love, and you're just doing that thing. And you should be able to enjoy that moment without worrying about belief systems and who believes what. Okay, Teresa, good. She says, I've noticed that we all must be discerning not to create non-belief system to become the new belief system. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I completely agree with that. It's very easy to become obsessive. I know. I am an obsessive. I have an obsessive personality. So when I go down a rabbit hole, I go right down the frickin' rabbit hole. If I get involved in a project, I am completely involved in that project. And that's just the way I am. So if I get involved in an anti-vaccine movement, then that is all I will live and breathe and talk about for however long it takes to work through that whole system. But there comes a point when we need to, yeah, Blair, we need to find the fine line. When does it become obsessive? And it's really, really interesting because recently we've had a few people in Untalkers talk about taking online breaks. Like, whether it's enforced online breaks because, all of a sudden you lose your internet and you're like, I have no internet for the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks or however long it is. Or you walk away and say, look, I'm just taking a break. I'm going camping for a week. I'm going to just separate myself out from this and go do something in the now. And it just seems to me so important right now that we take a step back from this, the online. And I don't mean as in like, no more shows, blah, 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 close down the groups. No, I just mean take your time out of your day to actually do something different. Do something that you love. Do something in the now. This now, that puts you in this now, that you just sit here and you whether it's baking cookies or working in the garden or painting a picture or going for a hike or go fishing. I don't care what it is. Go play football. I don't care. It's really, really important, I think, right now that we actually pull ourselves back a little bit from the looking here continuously looking here to the future. What's this going to be? What's that going to be? Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be? When is it going to be? Da, 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 da. And pull back into ourselves and take some time for ourselves to do what makes us feel good. And I mean, literally, you know, it's like we are, I say it over the time, all the time. Nico, it's his favorite expression. We are responsible for our own happiness. We, only us, I am responsible for my own happiness. And if I'm going to be miserable, then the only person who's going to make me miserable is me. And the only person who's going to make me happy is me. So I then have to make a choice and say, what am I going to do to make myself happy? Today, I took my kids to the beach. We had an awesome day. There was a big kids sports day on the beach. So they had loudspeakers set up and there was music playing. And my daughter was up swinging poi and the kids were splashing and having a wonderful time. And it was awesome. Just sit there. Didn't do anything special. I did pick up a couple of rocks because, you know, I can't help myself. But just enjoy the moment. Enjoy that moment for what it was. And it was so enjoyable. It was a lovely afternoon. Come back, get the dog, go for another little walk, go get some ice cream. It's the little things. Just enjoying it. Enjoying the moment. And I think really right now there's a time where we need to really look at finding ourselves, if that makes sense. I don't mean finding ourselves as in even so much talk about inner work. We always talk about the deep inner work. But sometimes we don't need to do the deep inner work. Sometimes we just need to accept the moment and just have fun. Sometimes I think we work too hard at trying to get there and not actually take the time to enjoy here now. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah, okay, Aaron, perfect. Sometimes we just got to get out of our heads and get back into life. In the now moment, exactly. Because every one of us knows, and we all know people in our lives, in our past, who were miserable their whole life, who always worked for something that was going to be in the future. Oh, well, I'm going to do this, 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 this. And then when I'm retired, I will do this thing. And then, you know, the plans of mice and men, all of a sudden, you know, they're not physically capable of doing it or whatever, but they live their whole life for this some intrinsic future event, and they don't actually live. We see it in workaholics, right? You see people who are workaholics and they work two jobs and they work themselves to the bone because they want to have that pension when they retire, and they're going to have these RRSPs and they'll have all these things saved up and they will be, you know. But what good is that if you're freaking miserable in the now? Yeah. I don't know. So, comments, guys? Anyone? Anyone wants to jump in and give me their thoughts on what I was just saying? Okay, good comment. Okay. It's the same salvation mentality that many religions are based on. Suffer and get your reward later in heaven. And people live like that, right? Suffer. I'm going to work six days a week and a half a day on Sunday, and I'm going to work really, really, really hard, and I'm going to save every little penny that I have, and I'm going to, and then you're just, you know, next thing you know, you're 50, 60, 70, and you spent 40 years doing what? What? What have you done? Nothing, because you didn't do anything that you wanted to do. Yeah, and Allison, I agree. That mindset is the programming that we were born in with the whole debt system. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the whole thing. I get that. Really, really get that. But You have to work through it. Even in the little things. Like I said, it doesn't mean that you have to go take a 6-week vacation to, I don't know, Oahu twice a year, or go to Fiji. You know, that's not what I'm talking about, but I'm saying it's the little things. Smell the roses. Stop and smell the roses. Yeah, maybe that's the perfect expression. Stop, smell the fucking roses. Or the daisies, or whatever you happen to be able to find. That need.
Dan.
Yeah, Teresa.
Well, I just looked through there to see if anybody's hand was up, and so that's why I went ahead and jumped in, because I didn't see one. I'm sorry if there was somebody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I'm going to say this. I say this without crying. We must, and I know there's a lot of, opposition to this thought, but not only one another, animals, friends, family, whatever. Forgiveness does not mean you have to lower your boundaries. But to live in forgiveness and to understand that each and every one of us are human. We make mistakes. We're looking. We're trying to find things out. There's no reason whatsoever that we can't unify. And I'm freaking, to me, I'm sorry, but I don't get what the freaking problem is, except for being love and having love in your heart. And having, your mind open enough that your brains aren't falling out. Because I've been walked on. We've all been walked on. But that's our inner work. If we can actually learn how to love people without becoming a welcome mat, and help one another through all this crap. I don't care who it is or what it is or how sick somebody is. We're here together. We can't depend on the other really sick ones to try to help each other. I mean, we're here for a reason doing this. This is no accident. I'm just so happy that you brought this subject up, because there's so much love lost that I've seen. And it seriously tears my heart up every time I see it. And I'm going to quit, because that's all I want to say is please, please open your hearts, use your brains. Don't let them fall to the floor. We all have common sense. And people all deserve forgiveness. We all make mistakes and do some pretty bad things. And we got to stop. This is it. It's never been done before. Look back in history. What we're trying to do has never been done. And we have to do it. I'm done. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Awesome. That's the thing. That's kind of what I'm saying with the whole thing about belief systems. And it doesn't matter what people believe. It doesn't matter. You can be friends with people. You can love people around you. And sometimes we've got to work through this shit. And sometimes there is shit that happens that pisses us off. And I am not a turn the other cheek kind of chick, in case you hadn't noticed. But there's a time and a place. And we give people this space to also move forward and do their thing. And it doesn't mean that we have to sit in judgment, because that is one of the worst things for me. And I fall into that trap all the time myself. Definitely. People make mistakes, and we move forward. I'm someone who, in some ways, I always give the next chance. And I've even said it about certain people who you all know that I don't get along with. Certain person who's in jail, right? And I'm saying, but you know what? If she actually turned and came forward and, I'm there. Because I don't believe in throwing anyone to the wayside, ever. Like this George Bush, him I'm still going to kick in the balls. Sorry. And a few of his ilk. Because I don't forgive them for anything. Nothing. There is this tendency I see of all of us, and so I keep trying to talk about this, and I'm sorry, I don't know that I'm actually talking English language. There is a separation meme going on. There is a divide and conquer and a separation meme going on. No, Maury, they're not okay. I said, and his ilk, you didn't listen clearly. There's a divide and separation meme going on. But some of the stuff that people are pointing out as being division and separation aren't. And then the stuff that is not being called out, and it's just kind of crazy. And some of that is that we have to sometimes just put that fucking shit aside. It doesn't matter. For example, we have so much, for example, within the political, right, the political arena, and you get this division between like Democrats and Republicans, or you know, in Canada, the Liberals and the Conservatives, or what, name a fucking political party. We have propaganda playing out. So there is a huge amount of propaganda on both sides, like both sides of the fence, on the lesbian, gay, bi, trans community. And it's coming from both sides. Because some of the shit that's coming out pushing this agenda, pushing this transgenderism, is blatant propaganda, is blatant agenda driven. There's no question about it. But then you have the other side that's doing the exact opposite. And the problem is there becomes a point where there's no central area. And people draw up on two sides of the fence. And it's fucking ridiculous. Because both sides are playing to an agenda. And it's pretty in your face. If you can look at it from a completely observer point of view, it is in your face. Both sides of it. Why do people have to take sides? Why does there have to be this continuous thing? You have to choose one or the other. It either is or it isn't. It's black or it's white. It's, you know, exactly. It's just like they like it. Exactly. Just like they want you to. Because it's all a divide and conquer meme. And they will continuously push those buttons because people are allowing their buttons to be pushed on it. And if you allow the buttons to be pushed, but guess what? You just fell for their agenda. You just instantaneously, I'm sorry, but you instantaneously lose. You just lost the game because you gave up whatever energy you just put into it to dabble around and play in the playground that's all full of agendas. And that's it. Like, it's just, yeah, Coke versus Pepsi. Exactly. When even down to your frickin' soft drink has to become a divisionary faction. But don't worry, Maury. Dr. Pepper is just fine. But this is, okay. Yeah. Roseanne, I get it. When you don't comment on it, you are against them and therefore bad. And it's the same thing. We watch it with the vaccine stuff. If you make any kind of a comment that is cautionary, mildly cautionary about vaccines. Oh, well, you're an anti-vaxxer. And therefore, you're just like, which, and you get attacked and why does it have to be a divisionary point? Why are we not just making choices for our own family? And I'm sorry, like, I educate people. I always put out articles. I put that out. But when it gets into a conversation, you get to a point where you go, I'm not going to have the conversation. When it comes to this one, vaccines, in my family, and I mean, like, not my inner family here, but my external family out there, I don't have that conversation with them. I don't even have that conversation. I will give them information, and then I just stand and walk away because I'm not going to take part in that massive bloodletting, vampirism, attack bullshit. It just keeps coming down to this. And I don't mean that we have to walk the center road. That's the other thing, is that people get to this point where they're like, so for example, the observer mode. Because I talk about that all the time. People think that when I'm talking about being the observer, I have no idea what that's. Hey, someone's phone was going off. When I'm talking about being in the observer mode, I'm not talking about being a pushover. I'm not talking about sitting there and doing nothing. Because that's the other excuse that people are like, oh, well, I'm just going to be here and be completely neutral. But what they actually mean by being completely neutral is they mean I'm going to sit here on my chair and I'm going to do jack fucking shit. I'm not going to take a stance. That's not what I'm talking about when I talk about being the observer, right? We can absolutely take action. We can make the decisions that we need to make. We move with what moves us, and we do what we have to do. It's a matter of making those choices from a non-emotional, non-triggered, calm place. That is, we've gone through it, and when we move forward, we're moving forward because we've made a choice based on looking at all the variables. It's not about sitting on your ass. It is about, yes, Aaron, about not reacting. Action, not reaction. And there's a big freaking difference to that. Yeah, okay, exactly. Yeah, more operating from your center. You're making choices here. You're not reacting in the emotional heat of the moment. You're not flaring out at people when there's more to the story. I've spent the better part of the last almost 2 months now collecting pieces on a specific story, trying to figure out what happened. And I'm collecting my pieces of information, and I look, and I've been talking to people and getting their viewpoints. And it has nothing to do with believing anyone. It has nothing to do with, I'm going to talk to this person because I think they're right. Well, I'm going to talk to, but I'm not going to talk to that person because they're opposite. It has to do with taking the neutral stance, listening to the information, and putting it away because I'm collecting it so that I can, when time comes that I have to react or I have to act, it will come from a place of knowing all the variables, of knowing all the pieces that have played out. And therefore, I can make a choice, or I can choose to act in a way that is as balanced as it could possibly be, knowing that I'm not emotionally reacting to the issue, but I'm actually acting with clarity. Let's put it that way. Well, Teresa, I would disagree. I'm sorry. There are rights and wrongs. There are absolutely rights and wrongs. And there are times when some people are right and some people are wrong. It does happen. But that's not the norm. And that's not daily life. That's like the extremes. George Bush, all these fucking idiots, they're wrong. They're so fucking wrong. What we see in the banking, what we see in, like I said, some of the shit that I was reading about the polio vaccine, when you realize the depths of it, that you just cannot fathom how human beings could do this for the sake of money.
I just want to add, Danny, I was mostly talking and thinking about us explorers that are out here trying to figure it out. Not so much, we know the light and the darkness is out there, of course. There's a lot of wrong going on out there. But I was more meaning the groups, we've all been PC parts in, and everybody just trying to find their way. And that's more what I was talking about. Good God knows we know what's wrong out there. Yeah. I'm just talking about our stories, you know.
No, and I absolutely get that, Teresa. I was just clarifying in the fact of, because that is one of those pieces. That is one of those pieces that is so taken out of context. by a lot of people when it comes to, for example, like that whole very much, that is kind of one of those pieces of the new age meme, the new age religion. Well, there is no right and wrong. There is no black and white, blah, 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 blah. And which breeds nothing but inaction, not taking a stand, etc. So I just wanted to just be really clear on, because I knew exactly what you meant, but I wanted to be really clear because there is a point of that is so grossly blown out of proportion that it just needed to be addressed. Yeah, exactly. So,
can I feel stupid because I keep coming in here, but something just occurred to me.
what?
And I know that we've probably all talked about this before. If our little micro communities can't figure out how to unify and how to raise one another up, within our household, within our street where we live, if we can't do this thing on the micro, I guess that's why I was saying us explorers here in these communities, if we can't fix it here, what the hell? I mean, what's going to happen in a huge way? I don't know. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
You know what? Listen, that is one of my biggest worries and always has been. Because like I said, I've been involved in communities. And I've watched communities fall apart. And I've been involved in online communities, local communities, things like the community that we were trying to put together in Osham in Morocco. And I've watched them disintegrate. And it is very difficult. It is really, really, really fucking difficult. Because where do you draw that line between, for example, where do you draw that line when you're talking, if you're starting a community, and I'm talking like an actual community. Earl, just let me finish what I've got here in my head, and then I wanted to bring you out. You're building a community. I mean, a true, proper community, houses, the whole bit, and you're trying to figure out who's going to come and live in the community. Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line about who's invited and who's not invited? How do you come up with the criteria? Because this is one of those things that is really tough. And let me tell you, from someone who's been there, it is very, very difficult. And I still don't have the answers to those questions. And quite frankly, I wonder if the reason why, for example, I haven't been able to manifest that community that I've been trying to build for fucking years is because I still don't have the tools. The tools to be able to actually come up with a way that you can set it up. It can be run fairly, and yet there has to be rules in place. There has to be a certain level in place that ensures that you're not taken advantage of, that you don't have someone come in who is a loose cannon. How do you do that? And even within the communities that we see online, I mean, it is difficult. In an unfuckers group, it is very, very rare that I censure people or kick someone out of the group. I think it's happened 7 times since we've started. The unfuckers group was started back in 2015. I think 7 times in total I've actually kicked someone out of the group. And I had called for it. There's a lot of people who are like, no, you need to go in, you need to stop this, and you need to kick these people out or tell people they can't talk about this, and I refuse to take that role. I refuse to take that role because of exactly what you're talking about, Teresa. Because if we can't, in the unfuckers group, if we can't have a community that is able to talk, discuss, debate, without people getting offended, without people losing their shit, without people taking responsibility for their actions and reactions, then how can we actually build a physical community? I'm telling you, I have no answer to that question. I have no answer to that question. And I don't know, is that the reason why we haven't got a physical community? Why we haven't got Unfuckers Island yet? Is it because we're not ready? We haven't worked out the kinks yet to at least be able to come up with an idea of how things should run? I don't know. I don't know. It's open to debate. Earl, you've got your hand up. Love, why don't you come out and talk?
I'm surprised we got communities at all. I mean, in the physical even. I mean, I'm surprised that we have cities and whatnot. Like, I've been in groups where even like the leaders of the group will just not, like, they'll come on to the program, and one of the people in part of the group that made the group so awesome, just, I don't know, they're gone. Like, whoa, wait, what happened to? And it's like, it just throws off the energy, and it's like the energy was there, and that's what destroys some groups is you get this real connective energy going at the beginning, or whenever the person that got there, you know, and it's sad. And it's sad no one's taught, all these groups aren't going, oh, well, we should talk to this group, you know, so we can work something with them, and, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the Christians, you know, are like, oh, well, we have to wait till Jesus come back. Believe me, if Jesus was looking down in heaven and looking, you know, he'll be saying, fuck this shit, man. I ain't going down there. Those people are freaking ass crazy, right?
Yep.
Seriously, like, oh, well, we can't have peace till Jesus comes back. Well, you gotta start somewhere, you know. It's like, to me, that's all. It's like when your mother gets mad at you, and, you know, wait till your father gets home, because when he gets home, it's gonna be. That's the way I see it with the group, with some of these groups. Oh, we have to wait for this shift, or we have to wait for this group. It's like, yeah. People.
That's what I said about living in the now. Like, something we got to stop doing this, looking out here, planning all this out here, or speculating and waiting on this, and actually start having some now. Now, enjoy this now.
It's like that's all I have is now. I'm like, if I could see myself in the future, I'd be like, oh, not her, definitely not her. You know, but, or that situation, or, oh, I shouldn't go out that night because I might get robbed, or something, I'll get robbed, or, you know, something like that. Like, if I had that ability, probably would drive myself crazy, because I would be like, anyway, yeah. It's so sad, though, that we can't all just try to get along. I mean, we should be getting along more better. I mean, I think and you're right about the belief thing. Like I believe I love my family, you know. And every time people go, "Oh, you're just saying it's just a belief," no, a belief is something that, you know, pertains to you, and it's like,
No,
like I had arguments like in the group that I'm in with Marlena and everyone. It's like, I just want to pull my hair out, you know, like, you're not listening to
arguments happen. Arguments happen.
Yes.
The thing is that arguments, debates, and even arguments can happen. But it shouldn't be a divisionary point. You should be able to, you know, kind of get through the argument and just go on.
Yeah, and I've had people arguments. It's like, I tried to, you know.
But here's the thing. It's still up to the responsibility of the people involved. And
Right.
everything comes back to personal responsibility. We are responsible for how we act. We are responsible for how we react. And until people are really intrinsically get that, those problems are going to just keep going around, I think.
Oh, can I add one more thing? When you were talking earlier about Trump, about the whole hair thing earlier, I'm like, you know, Trump would be better with a mohawk than what he has right now. I mean, seriously, like, I don't know.
You're funny. You're funny.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mute.
Okay, so, JC, I just caught your comment go by. We're having problems with the live stream. Is the internet?
No, my upload is absolute crap right now. I'm struggling to hold 3,000 kilobits a second, and I should have almost 41 or 4,100, I should say. So the live stream we're going to have to probably upload and replace the live stream with the local recording.
Okay, well, I tend to do that anyways on Monday mornings. The first thing I do is cut the video and get that out. So we'll definitely, I'll go fast tomorrow morning. I will, really. And I'll actually remember to hit publish, which I didn't do the other day. Yeah, okay. So sorry, guys, in the live stream. I'm sorry, we can't really do anything to fix it. We'd like to, but we can't. David, you have your hand up, darling.
Indeed. Now I have walked through a bunch of the groups that not that you're talking about, and maybe not that a lot of people have walked through. I've mentioned, I feel, and the narrative that I work with is that I came in as one of the volunteers. And part of the work that I came in to do was walk through what I call the lineages. Okay? Which is a whole other subject, and I won't get into that at this moment, but I'm happy to go down that track. I walked through the Hermetics. I've walked through the last one I walked through the Masons. I went into the Co-Masons. I did that for fun. And it was amazing. And I would say the demarcation for a lot of what's going on, and I don't see that collectively humanity they're getting there really quickly, but they're not ready. They haven't gotten to the point of redefining words like what belief is.
Yeah.
So that it actually works. What's truth? What's trust? Those are great words if you redefine them in a way that it's integrated into someone's life, where it works functionally. They haven't gotten to that point yet that I'm seeing. I think there are small groups that are doing fantastic work that have gotten there, but collectively, we're not there yet. One of the best examples that I can think of how that process can play out is in the movie Green Beautiful.
I haven't seen that. You posted about that last month, and I have to say it is on my list. It is on.
Okay, I can. If I've got a copy of that, I can put it in a Dropbox if you want, and send that up.
See if I can find it, because I can usually find just about anything to download. So let me. If I can't, though, I'll send you a message.
Okay. Well, basically, there's this very advanced group. They're about 1,000 years in the future, and they talked about they gave a very brief view on their history, which was that there was like some kind of waking up, and then all of a sudden they're getting rid of their appliances, and they're getting rid of these other entrapments that we take for granted, and they just started going on this beautiful evolutionary path, and you really get to see and feel how they integrate and how they work together at the end result. But there's still that process that they went through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many people are you connected with that they could drop themselves right into that kind of aware, high-level aware community here and now? Even though there might still be a learning curve, there might still be an integration that happens, but they're pretty much ready to go, pretty much ready to go. Most people, even though they may think they're ready, they are not going to be ready because of all the underlying pieces that have to come together to integrate into something like that.
Here's my thing about that, because I go back and forth on this all the time, literally. I mean, play devil's advocate to myself regularly on this one. Because Peter just said it. Maybe we know everything but just forgot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been one of the things that we've thrown out there, is if all of a sudden we just remember, then we don't need to have this full understanding, comprehension of the whole. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's been one of those things for me. Is like, if it's a matter of all of a sudden you can remember what it's all about, how, who, what, where, why, when, etc., then it becomes an issue of once you remember, then it's there. You've got it already. We've already intrinsically got it in us. We may not remember it right now. So,
yeah, and I'm not saying that it can't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Char. How fast she went from, in that posting that she made, like 4 months ago about her past, and how fast she transitioned into who she is now. It's like, I've never seen anyone make that kind of solid transition ever. And I've known a lot of people that have been in some really bad places and have come from really bad places. I'm just pointing her out as an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we're sitting with, is that here's this potential that we can remember, that we can connect from the way things used to be. We can't rely on being back where things used to be. We have to do this from here and now. And as we open up, those pieces are going to start connecting. And that happens, and this transition that we keep talking about, this being in organic consciousness, for lack of better words, that is going to happen really fast. But I think the one hurdle is that we cannot rely on the way things used to be. We have to do that from here and now. Can that happen quickly?
Here and
Absolutely.
now. Here and now.
Exactly. And one of the huge pieces is, at least the way that I term that, someone participating in their own madness. Someone participating in their own, fully in their own life to the capacity that they have at that moment.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, that's one of the things that it's just become really, I've really become aware of, especially in the last few months. That, like I said, that becoming focused in the now, in the where I am. Not to the exclusion of everything else. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
that balance point where you can do all these things, you can look and you can discuss, etc., but that you're also here in the here now.
Mm-hmm.
And be who you are and do what makes you happy and do what your heart leads you to do, whether it's to get up and frickin' dance or learn something new or I don't know, go for a drive in the country. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you're just kind of doing what here is making you happy.
Yeah, I think Joseph Campbell put it really brilliantly. He suggested, how do you fully participate in a human life under any circumstance?
Mm.
And he was referring back to someone like Viktor Frankl, who went through a very, very extreme version of that. And if you don't know who Viktor Frankl was, he was a Jewish psychologist in Germany. He chose to stay in Germany in World War II, and he went through the entire process through the concentration camps. If you haven't read any of his works, it's really brilliant, well worth at least one read.
Mm. No, I'm not familiar, so it might be something for me to pick up on a rainy day.
Yeah, I'll post something.
Awesome.
David, it's called Man's Search for Meaning. I read that so many years ago, and the first half is all about his 20 years in the concentration camp. And the second part of the book, he explains how he brought in a new therapy into psychology called logotherapy, which was asking people to look into their spirituality. It was like one of the first types of therapy. They didn't put that in, science and spirituality got separated. So he taught what he went through that brought him to the place of his spirit, his spark, his spirituality. He was, oh my God, The Man's Search for Meaning is the name of the book, but it is so fantastic. And like what Danny was saying, truly the bottom line is, if we can't go within first and balance our own selves out, I thought about, even in relationships, what do you have to bring to the table? You cannot depend on another person for your happiness. You have to be you in full and total, all of what you have to offer has to be full up to the brim, so you can then, spill it over, and then relationship can occur. We cannot have relationship, period, if we're trying to take anything from anybody. It doesn't work. It never will. We have to. My new favorite word for months now has been allow. And I'm not talking about allowing anybody to step on you or smack you or punch you, but allow an individual to be who they are, period. And okay, so I'm sorry, I'm done. This is so important to me. That's why I keep jumping in.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. So, for example, we'll go back to community. We'll talk about the Unfuckers group. It is, I'm sorry, completely natural that some people just don't get along. We've seen it before. Sometimes it's like an energetic thing. You meet someone, and the very first time you meet them, 3 words that you've exchanged, you're like, yeah, you know what? I don't like you. And you may not know why. And it can be sometimes, I think, just as literally as simple as, I don't know, you just don't get along. Doesn't mean that the person's bad. Doesn't mean that you're bad. It just means that you don't get along. And there's a point when you sit, for example, in a large group like ours, where some people will post stuff and you don't agree. And you make a choice then of like, well, I don't agree. And I just, am I even going to read this post because I know this person's posts are always like this? And we can fall into that tendency of judgment. You judge that person. Well, that person just doesn't know what they're talking about. That person is just caught up in a belief system or a piece of programming or I have an entity or whatever. Or can we just allow them to be who they are? And if they find that they're in the Unfuckers group and they want to be in the group and they have that's their piece, then we have just allow them to be who they are. Allow them to have their things. And it just means if you don't want to comment, if you don't want to get involved in the conversation, then just don't get involved in the conversation. Because sometimes you're just going to butt heads. And then you have to ask yourself, we've had this conversation, this person and I have had the same conversation or argument or debate 7 times in the last year and a half. Am I really going to get into it again? Because obviously I'm not going to bend. They're not going to bend. So why not just allow? Just allow them to go. Allow them to have what is their experience. Allow them to have, and sometimes that is one of the hardest things, to be able to stand back and just say, I don't need to explain to this person or get them to see logic, or sometimes you can just let them, just allow them to be who they are. Yeah, Maury, it does. It takes 2 to fucking tango. And in every argument, it takes 2 people participating to have an argument. Yeah. Yeah. Trina, you've got your hand up, love.
Hey guys,
Hello, darling.
I joined the meeting a little bit late, and why I put my hand up, I haven't heard everything you guys have talked about for the last hour, but you're talking about kind of what we talked about last time. Hi, Star. Hey. And today, why I was late to the meeting is because I was dealing with my children. My adult children that are so ignorant sometimes. And I finally just said to my husband, they have to learn. They have to learn. They have to fall. They have to make mistakes. And I think that's what we're all doing, even in these groups. We have to fall. We have to make mistakes. We have to learn how to communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry. I'm like, I have so much from even the last time we talked that I'm just like, you know what? We all put stuff on Facebook. We all say things. And sometimes people don't agree. Sometimes people go, hey, that doesn't even make sense to me. That's okay. Fine, it doesn't make sense to you. But it's a learning process. And I think we're all just so obsessed with finding the answer that we don't go through the learning process. Uh-huh. Does that... Because I just experienced this, my daughter today, and she'll probably see this. Love you, Amy. But at what point we have to learn. We have to fall. And it's like, well, you're learning and you're falling, and no one can tell you you're doing it wrong. No one can say, well, it's not, I worded that wrong. It's not you're doing it wrong. It's here's my experience. Do you want to learn off of my experience? And I have to do that with my children, where, you know what, this is my experience, and they will butt me at every chance that they can. They'll be like, no, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, I've been on this earth a little bit longer than you. If you don't want my advice, okay, fine. You don't want my advice. I love you. I love you. I will give you my advice if you ask for it. But then don't get pissed off at me because I said, you screwed up today. You did something wrong today. And if they explain to me why they did what they did, and then I'm wrong, I have to say, okay, maybe I get where you're coming from. But that's the same thing. Like, Danny, I appreciate you so much because I know this group is like you're the mom, you know, and we're all just going, but everybody gets so pissed. Like, what? To me, it's the same thing that we have to experience certain things. And if we can't share what we experienced, then what are we even doing? What are we even doing if we can't share what we experienced? Because someone's going to shoot you down.
There you go. There you go.
Still on a tear.
But you know what? This is the thing. And you said, it just came out. I don't even know if it was you who just said it or if it was someone in the chat. We're all going through these experiences, but not everyone's experience is the same. And sometimes people will have to learn by having their own experience, by experiencing that mistake. And as parents, we can't help it. You just want to not let them have the same mistake we've already made. You can't help it. Listen, 14-year-old daughter. I had the exact same conversation that you had with Amy. I had with my 14-year-old daughter today. And I'm like, you're not doing it. And I'm going to be a mom, put my foot down and be like, no. Why? Because I don't want you to, I've been there, I've done that, and I don't want you to have the same experience.
But why is it not okay to say that in this type of venue, in this format? Hey, I've experienced that. Maybe you experienced something different. Bring what you experienced. Tell me what you experienced. But everybody's so quick to just go, no, that's not what I experienced, so that must mean that it's complete and total bullshit. Wait a minute, that's what our kids say to us. I haven't experienced that yet, so it's complete and total bullshit. Well, no.
Not necessarily.
Sweetie, maybe someday you'll experience it. I hope someday you don't.
Yep.
But I seriously am still on my tear from our last
chat. Okay, here's the thing. Kids learn, and I mean all kids and all humans, learn through our hot. Don't touch the stove. It's 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 hot. Shh, ow. Hot. And now you know.
Told you.
Don't touch the stove. It's fucking hot. Sometimes, almost every kid goes through it. They have to learn. The stove is hot. The pot is hot. The tap is hot. And they have to learn by burning themselves. Because it becomes an indelible part of their experience. And there's no explanation. I can't, because this is the thing. We want to help our kids. We want to, and the people around us, not just our kids. Like, I'm sorry, there's people who get posts in the Unfuckers room, and I'm just like, oh, please don't go there. Oh, no, you don't want to do that. Oh, please don't do that. Oh, please. And you got to, I'll type 85 different comments out and delete them all. And then go back and be like, okay, how can I try to express my experience or what I know in a way that doesn't sound like a mom screaming at a child saying, don't be so fucking stupid. You don't want to play with this shit.
But are you supposed, wait, okay. No, I'm sorry. I just said wait to you. I'm really sorry.
Give me 2 seconds. Everyone pause.
Okay.
I need to go get my mosquito spray. I'm literally being eaten alive in the last 5 minutes. I will be like 45 seconds.
Can I ask how old your adult children are? I didn't catch your name who was talking. I'm very curious. Trina. How old are they?
My daughter, my oldest, will be 22 in January. Mm-hmm. And then I have 19, 16, and 13.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Okay, muting. Sending love.
And Trina, you can tell me to wait anytime you want. I have no right to be... You guys, I just sit here in front of the computer. Guys, feel ahead. If you think I'm wrong, just tell me I'm wrong. If you want me to wait, just tell me.
No, it wasn't that I thought you were wrong. That's the whole thing. Here we are. Everybody, I'm so sorry. And we need to be polite, but what? I'm sorry. See, I'm sorry. We're all saying I'm sorry all the fucking time.
But okay.
I
Look,
don't even.
polite is common courtesy. And as I say to my children, as long as you mean it when you say you're sorry, it's perfectly acceptable.
Yes, as long as you mean it. And I do mean it. I'm not trying to be. And now I've forgotten what I was
You
even
totally forgot
saying.
what you were going to say, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't even know what I was going, wait. And it wasn't that I was disagreeing with you. I had a point. And now it's gone. So.
Well, if you remember it, just jump back in again. Because I don't know what my point was either. I've totally lost track of it. I ran away for 45 seconds, came back, and now I've totally forgot what we were talking about.
I just wanted to recommend a book with Trina if she likes to read. There was a book called Raising Self-Reliant Children in a Self-Indulgent World. And it really helped a lot. One thing I wanted to just say too, and this is really tough for any parent to take, I had to take it myself and realize, you know what? Most of the time when we're doing what you're talking about right now with your children, it's a hard thing to admit to ourselves, but we don't want to feel the pain that we know they're going to suffer. So we have to realize we have to say to ourselves, okay, this is going to hurt me. And allow them to learn. We usually are stopping them or trying to stop them because we don't want to feel the pain of watching our little babies be thrown in front of a runaway train. Yep. And that's really the bottom line. And I'm going to mute now because that was a huge thing in my life. Huge thing in my life. So, I mean, that's a great book. Just give it a try.
Another good book.
Thank you.
Another good book is Emotional Intelligence. In my opinion.
That's an awesome book.
I got a question for y'all.
On you go, Aaron.
Have any of you made the same long journey that I have, where you acquire so much knowledge and so much knowledge and so much knowledge, and you realize, whoops, knowledge only gets you so far. Knowledge is fascinating, but the real changes come through the stuff you know in your bones through experience. And that was a hard, long lesson to learn.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, that even changes too, though. Those lessons change too, because you can go through a lesson. For me, I went through lessons when I was in my early 20s that were like, holy shit. And then you can go back, you're in your early 30s and go, oh, I've got kind of a different perspective on that now. Oh, that's interesting. And then you hit your early 40s and go, oh, fuck, what the hell was I thinking? Because as your experience goes compound, and each experience makes clear some of the past experiences and clarifies shit, right? And that's kind of almost like being the observer in our own life.
Oh, it's almost like waking up from different levels of the dream world in Inception. You're like, oh, wow, it's totally different than I thought it was.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Star Walker, you're right. We're all experiencing different paths. We really, really are. And this is why my journey is not going to be the same as Dawn's journey, or Nat's journey, or Maury's journey, or Nancy's journey, or Star Walker's journey. Because we all walk a different path, and we are different people. And we have different histories, and we've all gone through different things at different phases in our life. And there's shit that I may have dealt with back when I was in my 20s that maybe Dawn's going to deal with as a 50-year-old. And maybe there's shit that Dawn dealt with when she was 30 that I'm not going to deal with until I'm 70. Right? Nothing follows this set course. You know, like you learn this lesson, then you learn this one, then this one, and they do not go in a numerical order. I'm sorry, they don't. They come when they're supposed to come, I think. And they come with what your experience is.
Well, that's what I was just telling my daughter today. She came down yesterday and stayed the night and left this morning. And it doesn't matter what the dynamics of it are. She screwed up today. And
I
she
know,
calls
Mommy, come on.
And I was like, she goes, and she has said this to me several times in the last year. My daughter is maturing, but she said this to me several times in the last year. Mom, give it to me straight. I know you will. So tell me. And I'm like, you fucked up. You did. You did not handle yourself correctly. But we all have to be willing to listen. You know, that's why I'm saying it's like with our kids. And if you're not a parent, okay, then maybe you don't really get it, but maybe you get it with your parents, where I called my mother, who is horrible. But I remember calling her at 22 years old and saying, I am so sorry for all the shit I put you through as a teenager. And she's a horrible woman. But I still called her in my early 20s, 20-some years ago, and said, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry for what I put you through. We have to understand that everybody's experience is different. And no, it doesn't happen linearly. Does anything happen linearly? Is that even a thing? I don't think it is. I could be wrong. I don't know. But why is it always this I'm right, you're wrong line? I talked about in the last show this wall. Now I almost feel like it's more like a line. I'm right, you're wrong. I don't even want to hear what you have to say because I know I'm right. Why does it have to be that way? We don't do that with our kids because we know they haven't experienced it yet. We know that they haven't gone through what we've gone through. So we'll give them our advice. We'll give them what we've experienced. And we hope that they listen to it. But you can't go, yeah, I can say you fucked up to my daughter. But I'm having a really hard time articulating that. But why is it this? Isn't the point of what we're doing to say, this is what I've experienced, and please give me some feedback, instead of a definitive line in the sand? Mm-hmm. You're right, I'm wrong. I know what I'm talking about because I've experienced this. Well, no, so someone else may not understand it.
Yep.
But it's this line.
And people are different. And like I said, had a conversation, oh God, this was weeks ago on the show. It was at the pre-show, actually. It was a ramble that was going on in the pre-show as we were getting set up. With Burma, actually. And we were talking about, I think it was Burma. We're talking about meditation. And you can make absolutes. Say, well, this is this. But everyone's different. Everyone's mind works differently. How we think works differently from person to person. And even that aspect, let alone experiences, let alone maturity, let alone life experiences or spiritual experiences or whatever, how much knowledge you have, the very fact that we all don't think, and I mean literally think the same way, that how our process, and I'm talking about the intrinsic processes of how we think, are different. We, of course, always come from our own personal experience. I think this way. This is how my brain works. Therefore, I assume that that's how other people think. And that's an assumption that's going to dump you on your ass every fucking time. And it took me years, I mean, literally years and years and years to all of a sudden realize that I don't think the way people think. Like, my brain just doesn't work that way. I think the actual process, the thinking process that I use is very, very different than apparently most people. And once I got that, once I really, really figured that out, then all of a sudden I had a place to go to where I can say, okay, well, that's how you think, me. But that doesn't mean they've got a different thought process. Their entire thought process is not your thought process. So you can't judge them. You can't say that they're right or wrong, etc., because their thought process is completely different. They've analyzed the information differently. They've used a different way of going around to figure out all of this. This is something that's intrinsic that a lot of people don't realize. And sometimes when we communicate, that I think a lot of the fall down in communication that we have is because we don't think the same way. We are literally, quite literally, our brains don't operate in the same way. And you can have conversations with your best friend and you can explain something and they look at you completely blankly like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, it's like very clear in my head. Like, how can you not see that? Right? It's the same with experiences. We grew up with that. Well, then again, it's the whole thing. Did we grow up? Did we have these experiences? Or is this just another piece of the fucking, what we're told we have as experiences? That's the big question that I'm going through right now, too. I'm still doing that whole thing of reviewing my own personal life history and going, I have questions. Regardless of what the actual is, at this moment, I sit here and I can go back and say, I did this in grade 9, this in grade 10, this in grade 11, when I was 22, blah, blah, when I was 28. These experiences change how we think. And they change how we view different experiences. And because we've not all had the same experiences, we're going to have different views about those experiences. And one person could have a very, very bad experience, and someone else could, in the exact same place, doing the exact same thing, and someone else could have a really, really good experience. And therefore, they're going to have two completely different views about whatever it was that happened. Because it depends on what the experience is. Right? It's like we can talk about, for example, smoking pot. For some people, it relaxes them. It does so much to bring them together. I don't experience it that way. I can't smoke. Because I literally, it's like I lose control of my brain. My brain goes off and it just goes way the fuck out there. And it's really hard to fucking bring it back. And I have a very hard time being able to articulate, being able to keep to a thought pattern. Nick is completely the opposite. Nick can smoke a joint and then literally go in and have the most deepest physics conversation and be so focused and so in the zone. But we have two different experiences. So it would be very easy for me to come out and say, smoking is bad. Smoking is really, really bad because, it just means that you're like this. And for Nick to say, no, smoking is good because smoking means that you have the ability to do this. That's because we have two different experiences. Neither one of us is right. Neither one of us is wrong. It's just the experience that we've had. Same thing, there are people who, for example, would say LSD, worst thing on the face of the planet, horrible, horrible, horrible. I've had some incredible experiences when I was younger on acid. Like mind-blowing, open your consciousness to all kinds of thought patterns you never would have considered before that you keep with you for the rest of your life, that you go like, wow. Same thing with ayahuasca. You have some people who have these incredible journeys on ayahuasca and other people who are just so freaking sick that all they can think about is, oh, please, someone take me to hospital so I can have my stomach pumped. And that's everything in our life. That's everything that we experience in life. Right? Everything that we experience in life. We have different experiences. And we always come back to how we view any given situation is going to be based on the experiences that we've already had. Or the experiences that other people have had that they've told us. Because you may not have even experienced it. Someone else has told you a story of what they experienced, and you take that as rote. You take that as, okay, well, that's, you know, this person said that that's how they experience. Oh, wow. So I don't want to do that. Or, oh, I definitely want to do that. But that's their experience. It's not our experience. And our experience could be completely freaking different. And now everyone's going on. Everyone's going off. Oh, the chat. You guys are fucking a riot, let me tell you. You guys are a riot, and I love you. Yeah, there is right and wrong. There absolutely is right and wrong, and we know that morally. And I don't use the word morally in the whole religious context of morally. But there is right and wrong. You know what? There's times when you're going to do things, and you're going to do things that you know are wrong, but you're doing it for the right reasons. It's the way shit plays out. It is, right? Still comes back to the responsibility thing to me. Still comes back to that, taking responsibility for your actions, being responsible for your actions and your reactions. If we can all stand really, truly in that place of being responsible, then we don't need to judge on right and wrong. Does that make sense? And again, I'm not talking about those morally, thou shalt not murder your fucking neighbor. I'm not talking about that kind of right and wrong. If you can be responsible for yourself, then, and everyone is responsible for themselves, then there's no need to judge. And there's no need to make any assumptions. This is the joke, you know, that an assumption to assume is to make an ass of you and me. So that's one of my words. That's what I spend.
I loved it. I'm sorry. I'm just going to add or kind of comment on what you just said, Danny, because thinking about the children and everything again, I was a big book reader when I was raising my kids. And when my daughter was 16, she's 36 now, she brought a book to me, and it was called, this is the way my daughter is, by the way. This book was called, she gave it to me on Mother's Day, and it was called Mothers of Difficult Daughters. I know, this is my daughter. And I read that book, and in that book it said and it really meant so much because, for instance, when we become parents, what's the first thing we always say to ourselves? Oh, we're going to do it different than our parents did. We're going to break the chains of dysfunction. We're going to do all this stuff, right? And in many ways we probably do. Therefore, like this book said, how on earth can we expect our children to relate to something that they have not experienced in their childhood at all?
Yep. We
might have experienced it, so we're trying to talk to them like they know what we went through, and they haven't got a freaking clue, because we've already raised them completely different than what, and so therefore it's the same thing in friendship, relationships, whatever, because if there weren't different flowers out there, wouldn't it be awful damn boring to look at a field of daisies for the rest of your life? I mean, why can't we allow one another to be who we are and blossom and be there for one another? I mean, why do we have to think we got to clone ourselves? There was a funny little movie that Jane Fonda was in. It was called Peace, Love, and Misunderstandings. It's the coolest movie. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, but the little young teenager in there, she her grandmother, which was, Jane Fonda, she's a big pot smoker and hippie later, whatever, cool movie. She says to her granddaughter, what do you want, a clone of yourself as a boyfriend? Is that what you're looking for, a male version of yourself? I mean, it was the color in life. Look at that shirt Danny's got on today. How bright and beautiful. If we didn't have all these different characters in our play, I mean, it'd be awfully damn boring. And sort of, to me, in my head, it feels like common sense, but really it's not for everyone, because, again, we haven't all experienced the true embodiment of knowing that, and knowing that that is the truth. that we all are different, and it's okay and it's beautiful. You know, even with our children, they're not going to get us completely. And by the way, another thing is, we don't want to take away their self-esteem by doing everything for them, that they want to make their own mistakes and pull their own self up out of it so they can become somebody in their own mind. Yeah. If we take all that away, all they do is resent. If you take somebody else's path away from them because you want them to follow yours, you're hurting their self-esteem. Let them go. Let them be. Let them just be who they are. I'm done. Sorry, again, I'm preaching, but this is hugely important, I think. Very, very important here for where we're going.
I agree. And you know, it's funny because, like, for example, I've had 2 arguments with my daughter, my eldest daughter, in the last, I don't know, week. One, she wants to get a piercing. And she doesn't want to just get her ear pierced. She wanted to get some piercing up here, like one of these cartilage piercings up here or in here or something like that. And I said, no. And she said, why? And I said, because you're not responsible enough. And when you've proven you can be responsible enough to look after something as major a piercing as that, then I will discuss it. But until then, no. Why? I'm like, because there's a lot of crap that goes on with your ears. Your ears are important. I'm not going to let you go and just get, like, I pierced my ear by myself up here and I hit a fucking acupuncture point. And she knows the story. I did it 30 years ago. I still have the hole in my ear. I can still put an earring in anytime I want. And the moment anything goes in there, it infects instantaneously. And my whole ear blows up huge. And it was like, you know, I don't know, it took me 15 years to find someone who's an acupuncturist to go, yeah, well, you've pierced an acupuncture point. That's why it won't heal. That's why it's continuously infected if you put anything near it. I'm like, the vast majority of piercers don't understand this stuff. So no, you can't have one. But why? I'm like, because it becomes, you know, and it's like, no. I'm your mother. I'm not going to allow you to make this mistake that I made. Which we all go through. And,
Danny, again. Here I am again. Okay, here's a real simple. My husband is the complete opposite of me. I think that's why we've worked for 24 years. We balance each other out, you know, yin and yang, whatever. When we were first together, the first 15 years, I am not a morning person. I'm not. I don't wake me up. Don't mess with me. Let me do my thing. And it drove him insane because he's a morning person. He couldn't understand it. It didn't make any sense to him. And this is along the lines of, we all have different experiences. We all do things differently. Well, then we had children. And then I've got children who, some of them are morning people like their dad. Some of them are absolutely not. And it took him seeing it's not that I don't want to wake up. It's not that I'm lazy. It's just literally, I don't like the morning. And then we had our children, and he's like, they really just don't like mornings, do they? And I'm like, no. And I get it, but he didn't.
But he doesn't.
But he learned to adapt to, they really just don't like mornings. It's not a personality flaw. It's not that they're wrong and you're right. It's not that I'm wrong and you're right, or vice versa. Down to something as simple as being a morning person.
Yep.
You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it feels like, but he has learned to understand not everybody likes morning. Not everybody wakes up and is like, hey, let me talk to everybody. And yeah, no. I'm like, I need at least 2 cups of coffee and at least 4 cigarettes before you can even talk to me in the morning. But he thought when we were first together that it was a personality flaw because he couldn't understand it, because it was so far removed from how he operates.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're trying to,
Exactly.
just to simplify it in a, are you a morning person or aren't you?
Yep. And if you're not a morning person, or if you are a morning person, you cannot understand it. And I completely, listen, that is one of those that I think everyone here can get that. And it's true. That's actually a really, really good example to use. You cannot understand someone else's perspective if you don't experience the same thing the same way they do. Therefore, you're always going to have a different perspective. And like you say, no one's right.
But he learned to understand.
Exactly.
Instead of calling us crazy, instead of saying you're wrong, over the years, he learned to go, you're just different. You're just different. You experience it differently than I do. Yep. So it's not a I'm right, you're wrong thing.
Yep.
Okay, and then I'm seriously, you guys, I'm not going to hijack this whole thing. I'll shut up now. But I thought that was a very simple way to put what we're talking about.
It's a really good example because everyone wakes up in the morning. And some people are totally neutral about mornings. And therefore they can't understand either of the opposite extremes. Because they're just, it's just neutral and they don't have any feelings one way or the other about it, right? So, no, I mean, I think that is actually a really, really, my children are trained. My children are trained. They don't even talk to me until I've had a cup of coffee and a smoke. Not even talk to me. Like, I don't even exist until I come in from the porch or the balcony or wherever it is, and I've had my smoke and I have a coffee in my hand before they even talk to me. And they just certainly don't think about asking me to do anything for them before I've had a coffee and a smoke, because it ain't going to happen.
I'm so laughing right now. I'm giggling because I'm sorry. I'm literally dying laughing. My kids will ask me, have you had coffee yet, Mom?
Uh-huh.
Have can I approach? And my mother-in-law bought me a mug with the Wicked Witch of the West off of The Wizard of Oz. And it says, you think I'm wicked now? Wait till you see me without my coffee. My mother-in-law bought that for me.
Someone posted in on Fuckers the fucking awesomest mug this morning. And it was something like, just fuck off and die. Oh, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Oh, yeah, that's the
like
way
that.
I am
Like,
every morning. I'm like, no, fuck you. Even to my own children. I'm like, fuck you. No, nope, don't speak. And my husband just acted as if I was a complete loon, but now he's understanding it. I try to help it. I do. I try to help it. I try to see it differently. I try to wake up and, birds are chirping and the sun is rising. And I'm like, oh, fuck. No, fuck you. Fuck you. I am not in the mood. And I love that my husband is finally seeing, just because you're not that way doesn't make me wrong for being that way. And I think that's the entire premise of everything that we've been talking about.
Yep.
Have a different perspective.
Yep.
Have a different experience. But it doesn't make you wrong because you experience it differently.
Yeah.
Seriously, now I really am going to shut up. I love you guys. I'm sorry.
Nick is the worst person in the world in the middle of the night. You wake up Nick in the middle of the night when he's sleeping, he is the most vile, horrible person on the planet. He will say the most horrible, nasty things. But he's not awake. He's not awake. And I know he's not awake. And like I say, the first few times when we first got together, it was like, how could you? Oh, Dad. And you hold it against him. Like the next morning, you fucking told me to fuck off last night. And he'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, you did. And it took me a while to realize that, like, when it's the middle of the night, Nick has no clue what he's saying. And he does say the most horrible, horrible things to anyone who wakes him up. Doesn't matter who it is. So, same thing. I don't wake up that way. I was like, I'm one of those people who has auto wake up. And I don't know if it's because of being a mom for 26 years. That, like, the noise goes bing, and I go, and I'm awake because you're used to kids and you're used to having to get up in the middle of the night with babies, et cetera, et cetera. He's not like that, and he will never be like that because it's not who he is. He can't do it. I can do it easily. It doesn't even have to be my kids anymore. Now, any child cries, and I'm instantaneously awake and on my feet before my eyes are even open.
Okay, I want to. Can I add? Can I just quickly add one quick thing here? Like Trina said, the first 15 years of their life. Okay, now she's been 24 years with this man. Bottom line, do we all want to do this for 15 more years? Or let's just, learn from this and do it now? Because I don't want to drag this crap out for another 15 years. That's all I want to say. Because we shouldn't, to accept one another is a bottom line momentary decision. We do it or we don't, period. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. Go right back to this whole thing about dropping the beliefs and the programming and just accepting people. If we can't do that, it's a major piece of work that we've got to work on. Like really have to work on it. Because, this is the time to be able to reach out and be with all these other people and do other things with people and enjoy ourselves. And like I said, whether it's playing a sport going camping, whether it's finding people in a community who like to do macrame, it doesn't matter. Accept people for who they are and just allow them to be. And that doesn't mean that we have to accept fucktards. And we don't have to accept people who are literally just fucking assholes. There's a difference. Again, there's a difference there. You run across an asshole, you call an asshole, and you just walk away, which is becoming, I think, easier and easier these days. But at the same time, why have you called the person an asshole? And can you take responsibility for making that choice? I'm saying, that person is just a fucking asshole. Well, are they really an asshole, or do they just say something that you don't agree with? Because it's different experiences.
Accepting people doesn't mean accepting their behavior necessarily, and forgiving people doesn't mean behavior was okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we've wandered all over the place in this discussion tonight. Holy shit. Like, that was quite the wander all over. I'm not even sure where we started off. Oh, right. Plague.
Video. That video, Dee.
Which video?
The one you posted
about.
Oh,
right. The
separation. Okay, what was the point of it? Okay, she talked about the fact people feel
mystic syndrome.
Yeah.
Mystic syndrome.
Yeah. And I've been thinking so much about that, It's I think we kind of wandered away from that topic as the conversation.
But what's it called? What's it called again, please?
Starving Mystic Syndrome.
Yeah.
Video.
I'll put the link in there for it so everyone watch it. It's like I said, only about 7 minutes long.
And I think really though the bottom line is the starving mystic syndrome is starving for like-minded people in our lives that we can really connect with and enjoy being around outside of the day-to-day stuff that we do, whether it be hanging out with the family on the weekend, or going to the beach with the kids, or whatever is going on in our lives, in the matrix. But when you have a tight group or a tight friendship with people that you guys are on the same page, and as far as where you're at, what you want and what you hope for in the world and the changes, and it just is so much more empowering, and I think that on Fuckers Unite, to me, it is important that we do stick together, and you don't have to depend on the group to get you through, you know, your day-to-day lifestyle or whatever, but just being able to go back in and call one of us, or, you know, or reach out and leave a message, you know, because you know they understand, you know. And yeah, you got to go out and enjoy life and do other things. We all do it for the most part. You know, I'm not a hermit. Maybe some are, but I'm not. But I'm wide awake, and I can't help researching and learning, you know. But if it wasn't for the unfuckers, you know, that's where my understanding is. That's where I reach out, you know, for common, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. So, for example, what I took from that Starving Mystic video was not the, because what you just said is all the positive. Are the positive aspects that we get from within our group, in our community, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, right, and not depending on it. You know, that's why I added.
But it's not even not depending on it. It's not falling into the trap of another belief system.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not, and sticking with that no matter what, just because you're so starved for that community.
Right. And for me, myself, I mean, I've been down rabbit holes now for at least 10 years, probably 12 years. I was a young mom, and I have 4. I lost 1. But I have 4 children, and my oldest is 40, and my youngest is 21.
You're not a dum-dum.
Thank you. You know, so I've been there and done a lot of this that we're talking about tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. There's a lot more I could say about that, but yeah.
We go into this is one of those topics that is expansive because it leads down multiple side avenues.
So do you
many
think
things are attached?
Do you think, okay, you said that's the positive aspect of that video. Did I hear that video from the positive side? And you know what I'm saying? Seriously, because I'm asking.
You have a different experience, don't you?
I guess. Huh.
For me, like I said,
yeah,
I have a certain experience, and Aaron, who had discussed it with this morning, has a different experience in the fact of like our religious background. And having been in that very tight-knit community circle based on belief,
right,
it gives us a different perspective. That doesn't mean that we're right or wrong. It's just that our perspective is different than what someone else's perspective may be.
Right, and that's part of the journey. That's part of the growing. Yep, and there'll be many more.
Danny, can I just add one more little thing before we cut all this off? Because something occurred to me, an inspired thought just came to me. Here's the thing. If we all hold a common bond together, which I believe is to learn and experience love, and to also, you know, be a balanced person within ourselves, of course, so we don't become a welcome out or learn to not be one. Mm-hmm. The thing is, I think that no matter how we get there, there's so many different translators. I mean, my sister was even calling this, she's going to put a panel together, because you may be able to talk to me and I get it. Another person may be able to, you know, we all have different things that click in us from different people. It doesn't mean that the other one's not, you know, down to whatever. The bottom line is whatever helps you become more fully yourself and more fully able to extend love and become a better person. That doesn't matter where you get it. It's what the end result can be for you. And that really, like she just said about feeling the positive thing in the video, I don't know what it is, but, you know, we see so differently, and that's okay. But our goal is to lift the vibrations of our planet, to make this world a better place, and to love one another. So if it's doing that for you, then do it. You know, whatever video or channel, right? No, I mean,
I agree.
Thank you.
What works for one person doesn't work for another person. What speaks to one person doesn't necessarily speak to some people. Will post a link and say, oh, this article or this piece of music was so inspiring, or this movie or this, and someone else can go meh, because we're different. And that's why, it's like there can be a billion articles or a billion videos out there talking about the Mandela effect. And maybe people don't get it, and they just find one person who just explains it from a perspective that they understand, that they comprehend, and then they go, oh, now I get it. It doesn't help that language sucks. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, Trina.
I'm sorry. This is just a question that I have within myself that I want to put out here.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what triggered it exactly. And I hate that word, trigger. But is it beneficial for us to not only listen to other people's perspectives, but for us to be able to see the positive and the negative? Is that a thing? I don't know. But should we be okay with, okay, this is positive and yet there might be a negative, the whole balance thing. That has really been setting with me lately with everything. There's this, okay, it's good, it's got its opposite reaction, everything has to be balanced. Is that what we're missing? I'm just asking.
That's a good question. No, that's
is that what we're missing?
Valid question.
I can share one thing.
We're only trying to see good.
I so relate to what you're saying, because only in the last couple of years have I come to a point in my life where I was always trying to kick the darkness out, avoid looking at it. And something happened within me that learned, probably from emotional pain and trauma, that now I just absorb it and I allow it to, I walk with it, pain of losing a child, pain of losing an animal, whatever. The suffering is going to be there and we cannot kick it out. Or even the darknesses. For me anyway, it helped to go ahead and stop. I don't live in the darkness. It's not what I'm saying, but it helped me to almost embrace it as equally as I do the pleasure in a way. But that's just me, and it helped me a lot to just go ahead and move forward. But that's all.
I want to say something here, because it is a very much a natural process.
Dawn, can you speak up a little bit, love? You're very, very faint.
Okay, hold on. Let me put this down. All right. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay. It is a natural process for stuff to come back up out of us to deal with. Okay. I think that's why we have so many in the population that take antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
They can't afford for that to happen, because that causes one to have to deal with their shit. So they take all these pills and the shit keeps happening, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this. So example is, when I was going through the shit with my mom, there was a week that I came home and I just started screaming at the top of my lungs. And I had to warn all my neighbors. I said, if you hear anything, you're going to have to let me be. I was just insane. And it took a week, but I allowed it to happen and I walked through it.
Yep.
No drugs, no nothing. And this is the girl that's been in 5 rehabs. I've probably been on every SSI and antidepressant known to man. I got off all of that a while back because they would blame my drug addiction. It's just all convoluted.
Yeah, I get it.
The bottom line is, it has to come up. And don't kid yourself. It has to. Part of that process is that lifting out. And you have to face the shadow. It is a shadow. We create these shadows to walk in this life because we mentally cannot deal with all this stuff. So we have our shadow. So I step into Dawn's shadow and I walk around in that shadow all day. And the shadow becomes more and more of who we are, and we get lost. And so I'm going to have to disagree with, you've got to take both in this walk. And when the shit comes up, you deal with it. You allow it. You allow yourself to feel it. You got to know that it's leaving. If it's coming up, then it's meant to be leaving. I think a lot of us hold on to stuff too. We think we're, because we don't understand. And in reality, it's all about the letting go. And if you learn how to do that, then you can really get back to a good mental state. But, it takes work. So that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. No, Matrix just said you have to honor and recognize it before you fix it. Recognize it and take responsibility for it. And that's one of those pieces to me. That's just one of those intrinsic pieces, like I said. Yeah, and like we keep saying, how the shit, when you just ignore it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to the point where you can't ignore it anymore.
And let's also add, and I'm going to put a little alchemy in here. Depression is that weight you feel when all those negative thoughts that you have not dealt with. Everybody thinks thoughts don't go somewhere. Wrong-o. They do. And they'll build up in your space, and you'll feel the weight. That's alchemy. So alchemy means moving that shit out.
Yep.
One at a time. And then you start feeling the lightness come up.
Yeah. No.
So that depression is the weight of negative thoughts.
And we could go into this topic, even look, it's 1:11. Haha. Just had to say it because it's funny. But that would be another 2-hour show. Because literally that's another whole, open that door up and get into that topic too. And another show for another day, because it's 1:11, actually 1:12 now. And I'm going to need to go to bed. For sure. For sure. Okay, guys. Thanks, everyone. That was a really awesome conversation tonight. Freaking awesome, 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 awesome. I'll be back on Wednesday. And hopefully so will all of you for the Unfuck It discussion. Yeah. So I will talk to you guys all later. Bye, everyone.